Hey y'all, thanks for tuning in. I'm Tommy. Today I'm going to be talking a little bit about what I'm going to be doing to my Jeep. It's a pretty interesting project, I think, and hopefully something that y'all would find interesting. And so basically, what I'm going to be doing is called a TJ-6 conversion to a Jeep TJ. And so for those of y'all who aren't familiar, the Jeep TJ was made from 97 to 06. And then in 2004 to 2006, so only 3 model years, they made what they call an LJ. The Jeep LJ was 15 inches longer. The body was 15 inches longer, had a 10-inch longer wheelbase. So basically it had 10 inches longer between the wheelbase, had another 5 inches more rear overhang. And LJs are great. It's actually my favorite Jeep. They do have a bit of a departure angle issue, but you can stretch it much like I did this Jeep, and which I'll discuss more later. But you know, it's a great platform, and a lot smaller and lighter than the newer 4-doors, but crazy versatile. And if you don't need a seat, 4 adults comfortably, then I think it's a great option. Well, when I bought this back in 07, LJs were out of my budget at the time. So I picked up the TJ. And over the years, I've been working on this a bunch. I've had it for 12 years now, and I've been working on it, and making it a pretty formidable rock crawler. Does pretty well overlanding too. But I kind of came to the realization that I need more wheelbase, and more interior space wouldn't be a bad thing. I wanted the wheelbase primarily for rock crawling, to be able to do the kind of obstacles that I want and to kind of keep up with the so many 4-doors out there running 40s nowadays, and it's tough for a short wheelbase TJ on 37s to keep up, and so that's kind of frustrating. So I'd like to be able to keep up better with the kind of the growing trend in rock crawlers. But from a overlanding standpoint, it'd be great to have more interior room. So it would be great to be able to just go out and buy an LJ, and I could do that. The problem is, I've already back halved this Jeep, and that's something that I would do to an LJ as well. And what I mean by back halving it is, I'll go into more detail on this, but basically I cut off the frame and built new stuff and moved the rear axle back about 5 or 6 inches, and that sucked, frankly. I don't want to do it again. We did it on my buddy's LJ, and it's a hell of a lot of work. And so I was kind of left at a crossroads after a Jeep Jamboree I did. And I was really kind of frustrated with the wheelbase, thinking, what am I going to do? What can I do? I could comp cut this thing and move the axle back a bunch. That would mean moving my gas tank out from underneath the Jeep and put it inside the Jeep. I don't want to do that. I also, frankly, don't like the look of comp cuts. Just personal preference, but it's just not something that I want for my Jeep. It still's not going to give me the wheelbase that I want. I want to get a wheelbase that's going to be approaching that of like a 4-door, which is about 116 inches. I'm at 99 inches and change right now. So I got a long way to go. That's when I discovered the TJ-6. So for those of y'all who don't know, the name comes from TJ, meaning this is a TJ. The 6 comes from, it's kind of a throwback to the CJ-6, which I think was made from like the 50s into the 70s. And basically it was, I don't remember the details specifically, but basically it was like a CJ5 body. So it had the fenders kind of, the door kind of, where the body kind of covered up part of the door entryway, but it was a longer wheelbase. I think it was maybe 100 to 104 inches, maybe 106. I forget what the exact wheelbase was, but it looked like an elongated CJ5. It wasn't a CJ7. Like I said, the doors were different, the wheelbase was different, but it had no rear overhang. The rear axle was all the way back. And it was a really interesting Jeep. And if you haven't seen one, look them up. They're actually not very expensive if you can find one, but a lot of them all rusted out and everything now. So you know how that goes. So the name TJ-6 came from people taking TJs and making a kind of a version of the CJ-6 out of them. And the way they do that is they take a stock TJ and cut the body and the frame in half, add 15 inches to the frame, and add 15 inches to the body, and you have effectively an LJ length body. So the roll cage from an LJ will fit, the soft top, a hard top for an LJ will all fit, which is super convenient. You don't have to do any custom upholstery or, to get a soft top to work or whatever. And in addition to that, on a stock TJ, when you do this, you're getting a longer, 5-inch longer wheelbase than an LJ had stock. So it bumps you up from, from a 93.5-inch wheelbase to 107.5. Is that right? And 108.5. And so that's kind of like that's kind of the wheelbase improvement that I wanted out of my Jeep. So that's why I've decided to cut my perfectly good TJ in half and convert it to a TJ-6. So I thought it would be something interesting to document. I know there's a couple of guys out there who have put some information out there on the web and on YouTube about it. I don't see a whole lot though. My intent now is to kind of document the whole process here. You can see I've already got a start on it, but nothing significant has been done yet. So I'm hoping to kind of document that process for y'all. Laugh at me, follow along, ask questions, whatever, any kind of input. I'm open to it. Just bring it. So that's kind of where I'm at with this thing, and we'll see how it goes. So the plan is I'll show you exactly what's involved in doing a TJ-6 and where the Jeep needs to be cut, or at least where I'm going to cut it based on my research and input from friends some of whom have already done this. By the way, there's a TJ-6 group on Facebook. If this is something you're interested in, highly recommend going and checking them out. Really helpful guys. Not a hell of a lot of traffic there, which is kind of good because the signal to noise ratio is pretty good there. And a lot of guys are fabricators, so they kind of know, the ins and outs of doing this kind of thing. So really helpful. I've sourced a lot of parts from guys there. Everybody's been super helpful, so just something to keep in mind if this is something you think you might be interested in doing. And so I'm going to go through the process of what to do and how I'm going to do a TJ-6 conversion to this. And then, I'll probably do a little walk around of the Jeep, kind of explain where it's at now, what's going on. In addition to doing the stretch, the TJ-6 stretch to the frame and the body, I'm also going to be putting a set of 1-tons under the Jeep. And that's going to be a Super Duty, 2005 Super Duty front axle, Dana 60 high pinion. And the rear axle is going to be a Sterling out of a 2000 Ford truck. So those are both, I've already got those. Those are both geared 538s with ARB air lockers. I'm a fan. What are you going to do? So, and I'm now kind of debating about, so I'll be building all new suspension for it, front and rear. I've already got ORIs in the rear. These are 12-inch. I've got some 14-inch for the front that I'll be putting in, and highline in the front. I'm going to highline the rear a little bit more. Can't really do much more there, but I'll highline the rear a little bit more. Try to keep it as low as possible. And it'll be getting 40s. I got a new set of bead locks for it. And so I'll kind of do a little walk around of the Jeep, kind of explain where it is now and where it's going. Some of the parts I got for it. The process of, like I said, where I'm going to cut the Jeep and all that kind of good stuff. So, yeah, follow along and, we'll see where this takes me. So stay tuned.